Pedestrian deaths across the United States reached the highest total in more than 40 years, according to new statistics out Thursday.
23 News reporter Connor Hollingsworth talks with doctors about treating car crash victims and road engineers determined to buck the trend, keeping those not behind the wheel safe.
It certainly feels like more than we've seen in the past.
Dr. Jacob Jinglin, an emergency medicine physician with Mercy Health, says he feels like he's recently treated more car crash victims.
There's certainly patients that you can tell they feel like they've done something wrong, and they are typically upset about it.
And the data backs up Jinglin's theory. According to the Governor's Highway Safety Association, 7,508 pedestrians were killed in 2022. That's the most since 1981.
We have seen an uptick in overall accidents and injury accidents.
Rockford's traffic engineer, Jeremy Carter, agrees with Jinglin when it comes to the reason why. There are too many distractions and people are being more reckless.
Distracted driving is a huge problem with texting these days, and distracted pedestrians. So people on their phones, looking down at their phones, stepping out into the road.
There are a lot of people in neighborhoods who choose not to use the sidewalks and walk in the streets.
The city is taking steps to make these streets safer, making crosswalks more visible and creating more bike lanes. Carter says there is improvement, but state liners need to remember to take precautions.
If we provide sidewalks and people choose to walk in the street, then that investment is a little wasted.
Working for you in Rockford, Connor Hollingsworth, 23 News.
Some basic safety tips for pedestrians. Don't assume that traffic will stop for you.
Also, make eye contact with the driver before you cross the road, and always remember to look both ways.